I got sick as hell, so I didn't watch my usual number, but I watched some crazy stuff, so let's get into it. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 84th episode of Don't Forget the Popcorn. Back at you with everything I watched for April. I will have my top 5 of the month as usual, so like and subscribe, it's appreciated, and let's get into everything I watched in April. Gleaming the Cube, 1989, directed by Green Clifford. Now, I've been on my skateboard movies, my skateboarding stuff. I'm really getting back into the game as of late. So I've been watching a lot of skate movies. Gleaming the Cube, although it's not bad, it's probably on the lower end of the skate movies I've watched recently. Christian Slater's the lead. He plays a guy, a skateboarder, who's trying to solve his adopted brother's murder. And it's an 80s movie. It's alright. If you're a skateboarding fan, I could recommend Gleaming the Cube. But other than that, I don't know if you'll be into it. I'm going to give Gleaming the Cube a 6.8 out of 10. Babette's Feast, 1987, directed by Gabriel Axel. What an incredible Danish film. This film is about two sisters who have had missed opportunities in life, we'll just say that. And they grow old together, and they end up taking in a younger lady who, this lady ends up winning the lottery, and she wants to cook these two women and their friends a fancy French meal. And this was just an absolutely incredible film based on a novella. I was floored. I loved it. It's a top 5 of the month for me. I could recommend this to anyone. I'm going to give Babette's Feast a 9.2 out of 10. American Me, 1992, directed by Edward James Olmos. Yeah, my homie from Blade Runner. American Me, it's a prison movie. It's about this guy who he rolls with a gang, a Hispanic gang. They get in some trouble, and I mean, he pretty much just spends his life in and out of jail, mostly in. It's a good film. There's some shocking stuff in it, but I can't say it all worked. This movie definitely inspired American Me, which came out. Not American Me, excuse me, Blood In, Blood Out, which came out a year later. But that's just a way better movie. If you like prison movies, though, I would recommend this. I'm going to give American Me a 6.8 out of 10. The Women, 1939, directed by George Cukor. All right, this film was absolutely terrific. It's about a whole bunch of ladies who some drama and gossip get them all into a little bit of trouble. And it's just about these women going through figuring out their problems and solving them in their own way. There is not a single man in this movie, and I think that works for the better. I absolutely adored this film, so much so that it is a top 5 of the month for me. If you've never seen this classic, I would highly recommend it. I'm going to give The Women a 9.3 out of 10. Buck and the Preacher, 1972, directed by Sidney Poitier and Joseph Sargent. Fun Western film. Buck and the Preacher is about a black man who he helps freed slaves get to certain areas so they aren't recaptured and taken back in. And this movie is just absolutely great for the sole fact that it's a Western film that doesn't shy away from the treatment of blacks at that time, because a lot of Westerns do, and I respect that about this film. And I was really impressed by the gentleman who played the preacher in the film. I think he actually took the shine away from Sidney Poitier, which is very rare. If you're a Western fan, absolutely recommend this. I'm going to give Buck and the Preacher a 7.7 out of 10. The French Connection, 1971, directed by William Friedkin. As you guys know, I've been watching a ton of William Friedkin movies. French Connection was incredible, man. It was close to making the top 5. This movie was freaking crazy. It's an action crime film. Gene Hackman plays a cop that is just kind of going off the rails, and they're trying to nail this French Connection, this French guy who's bringing in the drugs. I'm gonna just tell you, this is just a freaking crazy thriller action movie, man. It's nuts. I loved it. Great film. If you're a cop fan, action thriller, definitely check this out. I'm going to give The French Connection an 8.8 out of 10. The Firm, 1993, directed by Sidney Pollack. Sidney Pollack, good director, back-to-back Gene Hackman movies. But this movie stars Tom Cruise playing a young hotshot lawyer who ends up working for this firm in Memphis. And there's a lot more to meet the eye about this firm. This movie was good, man. It's fun. It's a little sloppy, but goddamn, it was a definite ride. I enjoyed it a lot. If you're a 90s thriller fan, this is right up your alley. I'm going to give The Firm a 7.9 out of 10. The Purple Rose of Cairo, 1985, directed by Woody Allen. This is a cute, sweet film. Takes place in the Depression era. It's about this young woman who loves going to the movies, and she sees this movie called The Purple Rose of Cairo like 5-6 times. And on like the 5th time, the screen starts talking to her, like the actors, and one of them comes out of the screen into the real world and kind of shakes this woman's world up. It's a very cool little fantasy, magical romance film. I actually thought it was great. One of Woody Allen's better films. If you're a romance fan, classic Hollywood fan, I would definitely recommend this. I'm going to give The Purple Rose of Cairo an 8 out of 10. The Garden of Words, 2013, directed by Makoto Shinkai. So I was really happy the Criterion Channel put a bunch of the Makoto Shinkai films I hadn't seen on there, so I got to check those out. The Garden of Words was incredible. One of his better short films, before the Makoto Sans kicked off with Your Name. This film's about two people who meet in this garden, have these kind of secret meetings on specific days in this garden, and I'm just going to leave it at that because this is a beautiful film I recommend. It's only 46 minutes. I'm going to give The Garden of Words a 7.9 out of 10. Voices of a Distant Star, 2002, directed by Makoto Shinkai. Okay, this was one I hadn't seen. This was one I probably could have lived without. It's an early film from him, so, he was still getting his footing. But you can see in this film where he was going to go later. As far as tropes and stories go. It's about these two young people who they have a relationship. One of them ends up going to like Robot Space Academy, and so time is far away from them as one of them's in space, and their communication gets messed up, and it's got a cute concept. It's just the execution wasn't great. The animation's kind of crappy. It's okay. I'm gonna give Voices of a Distant Star a 6.5 out of 10. Pick Shot, 1980, directed by Hector Babenco. This is a film right here. Close one to making the top 5 of the month. Pick Shot is about these group of Brazilian boys who they're in jail the first half of the film. The second half of the film is about them and kind of what they do out of jail. This film was insane, powerful, kind of shocking, but it was incredible in its execution. You can definitely see this inspired a lot of films to come later, like Kids, or a bunch of movies like that where you got a group of kids just being rowdy. I'm telling you, a lot of people say like City of God's crazy, the craziest Brazilian film. I think this is way crazier than City of God. This was an incredible film. I would recommend this to anyone. Some hard to watch parts, so I will say that. I'm going to give Pick Shot an 8.8 out of 10. Civil War, 2024, directed by Alex Garland. Caught this in the theater. Let's just say it was not what I was expecting. Civil War is about a group of journalists who are on a mission to get an interview from the president before something happens during this very weird time in America where we are very divided into certain factions. And it's a decent film. I'd say if you're into journalism, this is definitely a film you should watch. This is a journalist movie, and I didn't know that, and I didn't expect that, but it's not too bad. I would say though, you can probably wait to stream it. I'm gonna give Civil War a 7.2 out of 10. Elephant, 2003, directed by Gus Van Sant. Now I've been watching a bunch of Palme d'Or winners because I'm gearing up to make a best Palm winners movie. And so Elephant was on this list, and I've been hearing about this movie for years. I hated this movie. I think this is one of Gus Van Sant's worst movies. And I know a lot of people feel strongly about this film. This film was boring as hell. Sometimes the use of non-actors works. If you're Sean Baker, you know, this was not one of those times. The actors were really bad, especially in the final scene. The final scene is honestly the only thing worth watching in this. I don't know. Maybe that 10-minute lead up to the final scene is okay, but I mean, this movie was a slog, and it's only like an hour and a half, and it felt like it was 2.5 hours. So I don't know. I can't recommend Elephant to you. I'm going to give Elephant a 5 out of 10. Children Who Chase Lost Voices, 2011, directed by Makoto Shinkai. This was also a great Makoto film. This was a full-length film, feature. This film is about a young girl who, she's just pretty much a regular girl, but she ends up befriending someone from another world. And, of course, in Makoto Shinkai fashion, they gotta have this very deep romantic spark and all this. But this film is really cool, man. I felt like this was Makoto Shinkai's take on A Castle in the Sky, if you're a Hayao Miyazaki fan. I would recommend this if you're an anime fan, for sure. I had a great time with it. I'm going to give Children Who Chase Lost Voices a 7.7 out of 10. Sorcerer, 1977, directed by William Friedkin. Like I said, guys, I've been on the freaking train, and man, I don't want to get off. I absolutely love this director, and I'm really upset I didn't really jump into his pictures until after he died. Sorcerer, it's based on, it's kind of a remake of another film, The Wages of Fear, and I have yet to see that film. It's on my list. I really want to. A lot of people say it's better, but let me tell you something. Sorcerer is one of the most underrated and underappreciated films I've ever seen. This movie blew me away. I was on edge, like from the first, like once you get into what's happening from there on, it's just you're on the edge till the very end. I was floored by some of the stuff I saw in this movie. The intensity was, oh my god, the stakes were so high. I don't know. Maybe it was the state of mind I was in when I watched it. I was in for this ride. I adored this film. William Friedkin, you're a freaking god, man. This movie was incredible. I'm going to give Sorcerer an 8.5 out of 10. Les Samurai, 1967, directed by Jean-Pierre Melville. I'm gonna tell you off the rip, this is a top 5 of the month, okay? This movie is badass. And let me tell you, it's about a French hitman, and he's kind of trying to get out of this situation he gets himself in. And what I like about this movie is our lead here, he's absolutely incredible. The film kind of tries to make us think he's this smooth, super, clean guy and great at what he does. But to me, I thought he was extremely flawed. And that's what I liked about him. And that's what I liked about this movie. This isn't a crazy action movie. You're not going to see a ton of action. You're not going to see this is an art house piece, slow burning, visual display of mastery that you just have to let take you in. Honestly, that's the best way I can describe it. This movie put me in a trance, man. I don't know. Something about this film is just it freaking works on every level, man. It really does. I would recommend this to anybody, and it's not gonna be everyone's cup of tea, but I think everyone should try a film like this. So I'm gonna give Les Samurai a 9.5 out of 10. Babe, Pig in the City, 1998, directed by George Miller. All right, this isn't a top 5 of the month, but let me tell you, it was definitely floating around there. I'm a huge fan of the original Babe. I grew up with it as a kid. I thought it was magical as a kid. I still think it's magical as an adult. It puts me in a certain mindset and mood. It's a pick-me-up film. I hadn't seen Pig in the City, though, in about 20 years, and I'm so glad I watched this film. This was an incredible, beautiful film. So well done. This probably George Miller's best movie. You can keep Mad Max to yourself. I was absolutely floored by this film, and this is just a movie if you haven't seen, put on with your family. Just enjoy. You don't even need to see the first one. You really don't. I'm gonna give Babe Pig in the City a 9 out of 10. Taste of Cherry, 1997, directed by Abbas Kiarostami. All right, now Abbas Kiarostami, he's an Armenian filmmaker, and he makes some good movies, but I haven't seen all his films, but I'm slowly getting there. This film, I watched this because it is a Palme d'Or winner, and I wanted to check it out. I enjoyed it, but I don't think it was as good as it wanted to be or as people thought it was. I do think the message was there. It's about a guy who he wants to kill himself, and he rides around the city. Well, not the city actually. He rides around trying to find somebody to aid him in this suicide, and he gets a lot of different angles and perspectives about life from these guys, and that's all fine and dandy. But first of all, the ending of this was just pissed me off, and for a movie that's only an hour and a half, there's a lot of dead space in it. But I will say, I think it was effective in what it was getting across. Will it make the Palme d'Or list? That'll have to wait, but it works on a lot of levels. If you're going through some things, I will watch this movie. I'm going to give Taste of Cherry a 7.4 out of 10. Mid-90s, 2018, directed by Jonah Hill. Now, being a skateboarder, of course, I saw this movie when it came out, but I've been really, like I said, I've been really nostalgic for skateboarding lately. And so I wanted to go back and rewatch this movie because when I watched it the first time, I don't think I gave it its credit. And I was correct. I did not give this movie the credit it deserved. This movie is fucking great. I fell in love with this movie upon rewatch. So much so I watched it twice in the last week or so. And what Jonah Hill did here, I don't think everyone got. And I think if you didn't like this movie when it came out, I would give this one more shot. This movie is incredible. I'm not giving it a top 5 of the month because I had seen it before, and but it's good. So I'm gonna recommend everyone give Mid-90s a rewatch. I'm gonna give Mid-90s a 9 out of 10. And I watched the show Baby Reindeer 2024, the new Netflix show. That show is great. It was absolutely incredible. I have a review for it. I can go ahead and drop that down below if you guys would like to hear more of my thoughts on it. But as it stands, for a TV show, now I grade TV shows a little bit differently than movies, but as a TV show, I'm going to give Baby Reindeer a 9.4. And I highly suggest everyone watch it. All right, The Square, 2017, directed by Ruben Östlund. I like Ruben Östlund. I haven't seen a ton of his films, but I fell in love with The Triangle of Sadness the minute I saw it. And I fell in love with this film the minute I saw it. Another Palme d'Or winner, so I watched this kind of for research. This film was weird and quirky about an art, a guy who runs an art gallery who just gets in a bunch of weird mishaps that all kind of lead to this beautiful revelation. And I think I'm going to leave it at that. It's hard to suggest this because it's a weird one, but I do think people would like this. So I'm going to give The Square a 9 out of 10. Bad Lieutenant, 1992, directed by Abel Ferrara. Oh man, this one was close to making a top 5, man. This movie is crazy. First of all, Harvey Keitel, I'm looking at you different, but in a good way, bro. I didn't know Harvey Keitel had this kind of in him. He is crazy in this movie. This movie's about a cop who pretty much does whatever the hell he wants. I mean, everything under the sun this cop is doing in this movie that you ain't supposed to do. I'm not gonna tell you anything. This is just a character study about a police officer who's losing his mind. I'm gonna give Bad Lieutenant. I gotta give it a 9 out of 10, man. It was fucking nutty. The Green Ray, 1986, directed by Eric Romer. Eric Romer, my dude. Love this guy. The Green Ray was another masterpiece under this guy's belt. This film is about a young woman who has some vacation time from work, and her plans for her vacation get foiled. And she pretty much spends the whole summer going to a bunch of different places, meeting all these people, and just kind of trying to figure out where she's at in life. And she ends up hearing a conversation about the green ray, which is the last speck of color you see before a sun fully sets, which is kind of a rare occasion. And that green ray kind of shapes everything that's going to come in her life. And I can't tell you much about this film, but just know this is a beautiful film with one of the best endings to a film I've seen in a while. The Green Ray is the top 5 of the month for me, and I'm going to suggest it to anyone. I'm going to give The Green Ray a 9.4 out of 10. Christopher Robin, 2018, directed by Mark Forster. For whatever reason, I never saw this movie fully, and I know I've seen some parts, but I didn't see it all the way. First of all, man, if you're a Winnie the Pooh fan, this is up your alley. If you like Winnie the Pooh, you're gonna love this movie. You probably already seen it and love it. I don't have to tell you about Christopher Robin. You guys probably know what it's about. Ewan McGregor giving an all-star performance. The CGI work on the Pooh characters, effing incredible. Except, why they make Tigger look so old? Tigger looked like he was like a senior citizen. It was kind of weird. It was throwing me off a little bit. But never mind that. The film is incredible. Absolutely amazing. Would suggest it to anyone if you got kids, for sure. I'm going to give Christopher Robin an 8.3 out of 10. Godzilla -1, 2023. Directed by Takashi Yamazaki. I bet you guys are expecting me to just, gush over this film. Well, I'm not. But I did enjoy this film. I thought that this film had some of the best special effects I've seen in a film in a while. Godzilla looked incredible. The action was awesome. There was a lot to like about this movie. And also a lot not to like. I didn't love this film. There was a lot about this film I did not like. I didn't like. I have a whole podcast with my buddy about this film. I can link that below for you guys if you would like to check that out and listen to it in more detail. But I would suggest that everyone watch -1 and support this film, because this film is important. This is an important film. We need more films like this to actually come out. I'm going to give -1 a 7.4 out of 10. Lisa Frankenstein, 2024, directed by Zelda Williams. Now, this was a film that I didn't plan on watching, but I ended up watching, and I'm very glad that I did. This is just a fun 80s, teenage horror film about this girl who she's interested in love, but she can't seem to find it. And, she ends up befriending this dead guy that she kind of resurrects by accident. And it's an interesting, cool love story. It was way darker than I expected. And the chick who plays Lisa, She was awesome, bro. I loved her transformation throughout the film. If you're a horror fan, if you're a Halloween fan, any creepy stuff like that, this is definitely for you. I'm gonna give Lisa Frankenstein a 7.7 out of 10. Monkey Man, 2024, directed by Dev Patel. I got a whole review for this film. I can link that below for you as well, so you guys can check that out. First of all, Monkey Man was awesome, man. Coolest action film we've probably gotten since John Wick 4. Dev Patel, you the man. I would suggest this to everyone, man. It's a simple film, not much to tell you. Just go and watch it. I believe in my review, I gave Monkey Man an 8.4, and I'm going to stick with that here. 8.4 out of 10. Broadcast News, 1987, directed by James L. Brooks. Broadcast News, a great journalism film. It ain't as good as Network or some other journalist movies, but this is a good journalist film. It's about a young woman essentially trying to find love and climb the ranks in her career. And there's a lot of different men and factors and things that kind of get in and out of the way. It's a fun time. Yeah, I think it got a lot of Oscar love when it came out. If you haven't seen it, I would suggest it. I'm going to give Broadcast News solid 8 out of 10. One from the Heart, 1981, directed by Francis Ford Coppola. In a weird way, as acclaimed as he is in all the masterful movies that people know from him, it's almost like Francis Ford is an underdog. It's almost like he's underrated. It's almost like people don't really give a fudge about him and don't give his non-Godfather Apocalypse Now movies their credit. This movie is a fucking masterpiece, okay? This movie kind of encompasses everything I love about movies all at once. One from the Heart is about a couple living in Vegas that they can't seem to get it together, and they kind of go on a magical night apart and discover things about themselves and about their hearts and what they want out of life and what they don't want. And this is like a weird musical. The style of this film is just incredible. It's set in Vegas, one of the most magical, beautiful, lovely cities on the planet. I love Vegas so much, and I love Vegas movies. If you've watched this channel, you've heard me preach about Vegas movies constantly. I thought this was one of the best films I ever watched. I've found one of my new favorite movies this month. So this is a top 5 of the month for me, and I know this movie was panned when it came out. It made no money. People hated it. People still hate it. And I don't care. I'm here to tell you, I think those people are insane. I'm going to give One from the Heart a 9.7 out of 10. Last but absolutely not least, Skate Kitchen, 2018, directed by Crystal Moselle. Been on my skateboard and stuff, and I absolutely love this movie. Skateboarding from the female perspective. It's about a young 18-year-old girl who she's an outcast, a lonely skater in her hood, and she ends up meeting a group of girls in New York City and really kind of starting her life as a skater and learning about herself and maturing and growing. This was an incredible film, man. This movie, man, I wanted to go hit the streets and skate after I watched this. I can't, maybe even more so than mid-90s, which is crazy. This was a fun time, and I'm definitely going to check out the Betty show that's spun off from this movie on HBO. So if you're a skate fan, honestly, if you're just a coming-of-age fan, I'll watch this movie. I'm going to give Skate Kitchen an 8.4 out of 10. Guys, thank you so much for watching my Everything I Watched in April. If you got this far, make sure you like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. Help your boy out. I got a podcast with my buddy, the Cuttingroom Floor. I'll link that below for more movie content. Make sure y'all follow me on Letterboxd, Ralph Vader. I'll link that below as well for more movie content. We're having way fun over there. Please check us out. Also, guys, if there's a film or a topic you want me to go over, just let me know and I'll gladly do it for you. I will be back next week, and don't forget the popcorn.